Cool. So, in terms of our main topic today, the first verses to open up this season is one that centers around our political leanings, whether they're strong or weak, whatever, your political leanings, and how they juxtapose like your relationships with others and just how you navigate through the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, like where do you want to start?
I think that we should start with explaining kind of what we're thinking, right? Okay. I think that the topic, the versus topic in this case, pretty much is just like, hey, I feel this way politically, right? This is the side that I'm on, and the side that I'm not on, and how does that affect your relationships? How does that affect your ability to have relationships with people that are not aligned with you, right? That's essentially what I want to talk about, and I think it's a pretty interesting thing to talk about, especially in the world of Trump, where Trump has made everything so not divisive. That's not what I'm looking for, but everything is just so extreme.
He has made everything so divisive.
He's made it divisive, but not just that it's divisive, because I think polarizing is the word, exactly, right? Because people will say that it's always been divided, right? But polarizing, where it's like literally it's black or white. It's like there's no longer. In Trump's world, there's no gray. We know that there's gray in the world, and a lot of us live in the gray. But it feels like when you go outside or when you're online or whatever, like it feels like it's black or white.
Yeah, it feels like you have to pick a side.
Yeah.
And I think, before we got on the mic, I was mentioning to you how I feel like Trump has kind of overtaken the Republican Party, so it's become like a Trumpian party, if you will, and it feels like it's like
funny enough. I think I read something. I didn't read the whole article. I feel like I saw it trending on something that Trump was gonna make a party if like the Republicans didn't try to. I mean, I'm not surprised by that, right?
Okay,
that doesn't sound
surprising at all. But anyway, in terms of our dynamic, though, I think that I tend to lean more towards if you're not aligned with me, I find it difficult to have a relationship with you. Like if you openly don't align with me. Obviously, there's people in the world that probably don't, that have no idea. We're cool. Yeah. But if you openly like support things that are so antithetical to what I am about, we probably can't be friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you are on that.
I don't think that I am, but I also think that so this is what I think of the world and just people in general, and myself included. I think that we always have a way that we think that we are, and then there's a way that we actually are, or like the way that we actually deal with the situation, right? So it's easy for me to say, like, if I met someone that was Trump, and really was ride or die for Trump, like everything, I can't be best friends with that person for sure, but I feel like I could have a functioning, efficient relationship because I'm not super politically inclined, one, so I will kind of forgive a lot of that with like politics, and I'm not getting into that. But I also think that there has to be some room for we're different, we disagree, we see things differently, and not that I want to change you, or not that I think that you're going to change necessarily, but I think that our relationship can have an effect on you, right? It's kind of like when people say, like, white people that say they grew up in some little town, they never met a black person, they hate black people, then they go to college and they like meet black people, and not saying that hate dissipates completely, but it probably changes how they felt about black people, because it's like, you didn't know any black people. The black people you hated were made up people. When you actually meet some people, that might change what you think. It might make you hate them more, but it might also like make you see like, oh, like they're mad regular. Like, why do I hate these people? So
you're saying basically that having a relationship with somebody who's very different from you could actually be the agent for change for that person to maybe see things a little bit differently. Which is fair enough. Like, I see your point there. And I think for me, again, if I allow for the gray, there are people that, like, don't align with me politically, like, that are Republicans. I'm definitely down to hear you out. Like, there's Republicans in the public sphere, like, you guys might be familiar with, like, Ana Navarra, who's, like, always on CNN, or there's another one, I can't remember her name, who are both Republicans that are very, like, anti-Trump and, like, hold him to account for his bullshit. That's a Republican I could deal with. Because I'm not saying you have to be pro-choice or pro, like, immigration in every way, shape, and form, and all of the things that are more aligned with the Democratic Party. Yeah. I'm saying like basic moral expectations of my neighbor and the people I keep around me. Yeah. If you can't uphold those, we can't be friends. Like I found myself being sympathetic even to people who voted for Trump maybe the first time around, who were like victims of, you never know, like benefit of the doubt, like he's my party leader. I have to do it. I was more sympathetic to that. But now you've had 4 years of seeing this man in action, and you still support him to the point where we didn't bring this up in the quick hits, but I think this is a very valid place to bring it up, is the insurrection happened, and there's people who still feel the need to support him. They're saying, I definitely have an issue with what happened. I do think he perpetuated it. I do think that was terrible of him. Yeah. I denounce him for that, but I still support him because he's the leader of my party. How can you hold both things as true and think I can look at you as somebody that I can be friends with?
I understand it. I think that for me, being kind of a skeptic of the system, if you will, like I feel like that's how the system is designed. Yeah. It's like it is designed that you follow these parties regardless of what they do or regardless of how different you actually end up being, right? Because it's like we've had a conversation before on and off mic where it's like you have two choices. You have to pick the one that's closest to you. So I understand what you're saying, where it's like you could be Republican and still not be a fan of Trump, right? And not still like you can still just not support him. Yeah. You don't have to go vote for him just because you feel like you can't vote for the other person. Like it is like when he won the election, I feel like there are people that are like, I don't support Hillary, so I'm not going to vote. Like you can have an impact that way. Like you don't have to actually vote for the person you don't support. You know what I mean? So I can see your perspective, and I think that there's a level of like it's a spectrum, right? Yeah. So I think that there's, of course, if you're all the way down one end of the spectrum, it is going to be very hard to have a relationship with you because you won't even want to have a relationship with me. Yeah. Right? Like if you think of Trumpians or whatever you want to call those people, like it's not even, you're not at risk of having a relationship with so many of them because they don't want to have a relationship with you. Like, they already think of you a certain way. Yeah. But to me, it's like if someone was actually open and willing to have a relationship based on something, right? Then I could. I'll always look at you different. I'll always judge you in a way. But we judge people all the time for different things. Like, there are people that have different opinions that, like, I'm just like, I can never understand that, but we can still be okay. We can still have a conversation about something else.
Yeah, like, I can understand having a different, ideology than me in many things, in most things. Yeah. Again, this to me comes down to morality, and that's where we can't be friends. Like, I have a personal, experience with somebody who was a coworker of mine that I now know is a Trump supporter. At least from everything that has been coming out about their social media and stuff. I don't actually follow this person, so I don't see it, but I've heard through the grapevine.
And that affected your relationship?
And that affected me in the sense that I definitely did not have any interest in, maintaining a relationship with that person. Like, I would reach out to the person, talk about TV shows, blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing that. Just because, again, the first time around, I had an inkling that the person might have, just from where they're from and some of their past comments, whatever. Yeah. But the second time around, again, once you know things about a human and you still support them, I can't really rock with you. Because again, like I said, it comes down to morality in the sense that two things I really hold dear are someone who's not a hypocrite. And I find that people who are Trump supporters tend to be hypocrites in the sense that they're usually saying things along the lines of, I don't like what he did, but blank. And I'm like, that's usually a hypocritical statement wrapped in a bow. Usually. Right. I'm not going to give specific examples here because that's not what the point of this is. But you guys, I would hope, understand where I'm going with that. And then the other thing is I really hold people in high regard who make the harder decision. Like, it's not in my favorite, or it's not my favorite to support Hillary Clinton, or it's not my favorite idea that a Democrat is going to be at the head of the executive branch for the next 4 years. But you know what? For the greater good, I'm just going to have to allow Because it's not forever at the end of the day. We're not talking like 35 years in office like other countries. Like, it's 4 years. Like, if you can't just allow like 4 to 8 years of another party just because of... Yeah. I can't understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that I'm still at the place of... So you're saying you have a perfectly fine relationship with someone at work, right? A coworker. Yeah. Obviously, I'm assuming you guys are not best friends because you don't even follow them on social media, right? But you have a cordial relationship. You talk about TV shows. Yeah. Then you find out this person supports Trump. I don't understand why you can't still talk about TV shows. Does their integrity changes? I can't listen to what you think about Pretty Little Liars anymore. Yeah. Oh no, you like Trump, so your opinion doesn't matter anymore. Pretty Little Liars.
He loves true crime shit. So as far from, I guess that's not far from Pretty Little Liars. But anyway, the stuff we talk about is just not real.
I got you.
Anyway, yes, because again, Trump is somebody who takes actions that affect people that look like me so much, like to our core, right? Like, and again, his supporters are people who, even if you're not actively hating people that look like me or like perpetuating hate in the way you imagine, right? You being a supporter of somebody that does, that's a big deal to me. Like, you're okay with it. You being okay with it, that's a big deal to me.
It definitely is a big deal, but I think that to me, I guess it's just like, where's that line, right? I always give people the room for like stupidity. I always give the room for like people are not as smart as...
I don't have stupid friends.
I'm sure you do.
I try not to have stupid friends. I choose my friends.
Of course, but I always leave that little room because you just don't know like what people don't know. You don't know what people do know. You don't know like... You talked about the person's background. Like, you don't know how that stuff shapes someone. And I know I'm guilty of always giving too much benefit of doubt. But I also think that, like, let's say, for example, I used to work at CVS Pharmacy. When the whole Trump thing was about, the first time when he was running for election, there was a person that, I didn't work closely with him. He was a coworker. He was generally cool. I wasn't, like, best friends with him. But he was a nice person. He would go out of his way to talk to me and to interact with me. And I remember he, like, had brought up the whole Trump thing and just basically how he supported Trump. Like, you know, it wasn't like I asked him because I'm not the person to ever ask. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, you really believe all the things that he's saying. Like, that was the level of conversation that we had.
That's why.
But my point is, right, I've not talked to him since because I don't work there anymore. I haven't seen him. If I saw him today and he was still a Trump supporter, I don't know, like, maybe I'm just not feeling it the way I'm supposed to feel it. But I'm not going to hate him. Hate is a strong word.
That's why.
But I'm not going to feel like I can't have a conversation with you. Like, now we can't be friends because you support Trump. Like, I'm not going to feel any of those things. That's why I said
the first time around, I was willing to be like, okay, like, it's fine. Like, not that it's fine, but like, I can almost put myself in your shoes, like you're saying, like the context of I don't know where you grew up, I don't know who you align yourself with, I don't know what motivates your decisions, I don't know how much you read or don't read, or I don't know any of this shit. So it's fine to a certain degree the first time around. Second time around, it's literally in your face every day, all day, the things he does, the things he perpetuates, and at that point, you're choosing to turn a blind eye. There's no more, let's just see what he does. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. There's things he did, like say that people who are neo-Nazis are good people. I just don't understand how you can see that and then support it. Like, you're not only turning a blind eye, you're also supporting it.
So let me ask this. I understand what you're saying, and listen, I don't want to be the person defending the Trump people, but what of the idea of, like, we have to be inclusive of people, we have to accept people for with their differences, right? Like, we can't only be friends with people that are like us because what growth is going to come from that? Like, you need a little bit of tension, you need a little bit of, like, opposition. Yeah. How, like, because to me it sounds like you're saying to simplify it. I know you're going to disagree because I'm simplifying it, but it basically sounds like I want all my friends to believe something along these lines. If you don't believe something along these lines, I can't be friends with you. And saying it sounds stupid and it sounds smart at the same time, right? Because it sounds like I don't want to be friends with someone that wants to kill people. You know what I mean? So it's like, obviously you select your friends that way. Yeah. It's just the political alignment, I guess, is the part that's like, to me, I wouldn't choose friends based on political alignment. Obviously, factors in, it matters. because, like you said, there's some morality and things like that.
Yeah.
But that line is not so thick
in
for
the
me.
sand for you. I guess drawing on the things you've said, the last couple of points you've made, I'm not the person that's like literally gonna walk into the office if we're still working together and not say good morning to him and not have a cordial relationship with him. Yeah, I can have a cordial relationship. Like, I'm not gonna like be spewing hate out of my pores.
Of course.
When interacting with him.
But you're just not gonna go talk about the shows.
We're not gonna be as chummy. We're not gonna be. I'm never gonna be able to look at you the same. Sorry, not sorry. But outside of that, it's like I'm always down for like a dialogue that involves like competing thoughts, opposition. Mm-hmm. Like I play devil's advocate a lot, not to the extent that you do, but I do, and I'm totally fine putting myself in other people's shoes, blah blah blah. But there is a point where there's a line crossed for me where it comes, like I said, when things are added to the pot, like morality and hypocritical.
Oh yeah, that was another thing I wanted to say. Yes,
all of that. Like once that is added to the pot, that's when And again, I do choose my friends based on similar ways of thinking. And it makes sense because if I know that you're around me and you're down with somebody who literally is like, there are good neo-Nazis and white supremacists and I love these people, these people are my friends, you're friendly towards these type of people. What do you want to say?
I understand what you're saying. So let me, what I was going to ask, I hope I can remember it. Yeah. What I was going to ask is, I understand your point of like, listen, I don't want to be around this type of person or like, I don't agree with you on this very deep fundamental level. Yeah. Do you think that there should be some level of discourse or engagement? Of course, like you said, that person is a coworker. Maybe I don't want to have that interaction with my coworker because it could just be messy, right? Exactly. It could be messy. I don't want to talk politics at work. But let's just say this is a friend of a friend, let's say. Like, let's say someone that's not work, nothing like that. I have a friend. I'm like, Faye, this is my friend. And you find out my friend is like a pro-Trump person. Like diehard. Right? A random person. He's a cool guy. Like, he's my friend. Yeah. We hang out. We do stuff together. But he just loves Trump. He supports Trump. He voted for Trump or he would vote for Trump or whatever. Do you think that there is a level of, okay, I know that I don't like this thing about this person. But can you have a conversation to the point of... Yeah,
I can have a conversation.
I don't want to say conversation because obviously that's basic. But basically, can you be friends with this person?
No, I can't be friends with the person.
Like, that person can never be your friend.
Somebody new entering my life that I barely... Someone new entering my life that I barely know. I have no basis to decide that they're a good or a bad person. Outside of their political leaning. I'm just not going to be inclined to develop a friendship with that person. Wait... Now, let's say this is somebody I love. Like, I find out that my best friend, Miriam, is a closeted Trump supporter and has been for the last 8 years. I will obviously have a different way of approaching that. Okay. For obvious reasons. I think that goes without saying because you're more invested in the relationship and all of that. I'm saying I'm not inclined to start or build a relationship with someone that is so opposite. And again, it depends on the person. Like, let's say that person is not is not a Trump supporter in the sense that I voted for him. I'm so excited about him. Like, I go to his rallies. And it's more like, oh, well, you know, I understand. I kind of like him. He kind of gets a bad rap. That is something that I think a dialogue could maybe be created. And then depending on how that's going, and you know, blah, blah, blah. If it's like, they obviously are so opposite from me in every way when it comes to their feelings about Trump. I just don't see that.
My pseudo final question is, okay, I understand where you're going with this. The only other thing I would object to right off the bat, at least for myself, which again, people are different, right? And it depends on how high political leanings or whatever alignment is on your list of things. Not call it a list, but your list of things, right?
Priorities in life.
To me, I feel like if I met someone, like back to my random friend scenario, that's probably not going to be the thing that comes up, depending on the setting, right? We could meet at a debate party, and of course, it's going to come up. But like, if it was to not come up, it's quite possible for you to meet someone new that it doesn't come up. You are not super invested because they're still newish, but like you're getting to know them. You enjoy their company for whatever reason. You guys are cool, and then you find out this thing about them. Kind of like the way you say your coworker. Like, let's say you go to follow this person on social media and find out that, you support Trump. But your whole interaction has been positive. Is that person now getting like, oh, sorry, that's it? I find that so hard to believe.
Again, that's where we differ. It's not hard for me at all because it's just like I already didn't really have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
So I'm not really, again, inclined to build one with you when I know that, okay, for instance, when it comes to Trump and me personally, I'm a Muslim, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly shown his cards when it comes to his feelings about Muslims within his first few days in office. Like, he made that very clear.
Yeah.
I'm a black person. He's made his feelings about black people very clear in terms of even how he treated Black Lives Matter protesters versus how he's treating his supporters who were on that Capitol Hill. He's made that clear. I'm a woman. He's made his views when it comes to feminism and his misogynistic ways very clear. Like, there's just so much that has to do with me. I just can't understand. Like, he's mocked a disabled person. I can't rock with that. Like, there's just so much that he's done that I just cannot believe in at my core. That anybody that supports him, I just don't see how we can have common ground in many things, in many ways.
I can see that, but the only thing... No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
For anybody
I guess the crux of the... I don't want to say disagreement, but the crux of the different points of views is I feel like it's possible to be sympathetic to Trump
can have a Trump
or
friend.
support
That's what
Trump.
He's trying to say.
I think that I could.
You could be friends with the Trump supporter.
I think that I could.
And
I have a couple friends that I accuse of being Trump supporters. They deny it vehemently, but they lean a little too, they lean that way a little bit. So
I think it's worth saying that we've definitely narrowed the topic from just political linings, periods, to being about Trump. Because again, when it comes to politics, period, I don't draw the line as much. I genuinely don't. Like, I have Republican friends, people that I know would vote Republican if it wasn't for Trump. Like, that's not my issue. I have people that disagree with me when it comes to, like I said, pro-life or like open borders. And Trump is not, he's almost not like, it's not fair to put him as like a political fixture because the reasons people have issues with him go beyond politics.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask was, of course we're in the political realm, but I think that this in a way kind of translates to other realms of celebrities or people that you look up to or support. And my question to you, let's just take Tory Lanez, right? He was someone that had a huge thing. I don't know. We've talked about it before, and I think we both kind of believe Megan's side of it more. I don't know if that's changed for you.
No.
But how would you feel with, like, what if I was like, yo, I'm a Tory Lanez. I support him. Like, is that to you? Do you think that's now going to affect your relationship with me? Because to me, I would say like, nah, it's not.
Because that's too much. That's too much hearsay. Other people's lives. Like I said, when it comes to like politics and Trump, especially, that goes to people's core, people's moralities, people's like human rights, people's just like their views on just life. Period.
Okay.
When it comes to something like Trump, or excuse me, Tory Lanez and Megan, that's more, it's some people's real lives, but it's not my real life. Yeah, it's like dealing with huge, like bigger implications than just what just happened. It goes into the topics of like domestic violence or whatever else. But again, not as much of a thing for me. Like, I can understand somebody who might have gone through domestic violence, for instance, in their personal life, and it's like anybody that I see as a threat in that sense, I can't work with. I can't deal with. That's that person's prerogative, but that's not my prerogative.
Yeah.
But I think
that's I think that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Say what you're about to say.
I was gonna say, to wrap this up, I guess at the core of it, we're saying, I think we both agree that it's not politics that's gonna create a line in the sand. But where we differ is that when it comes to Trump, there is a line in the sand for me because that goes beyond politics. Whereas for you, you're like, it's still within the same vein of politics. So I think you're less inclined to draw that line. I think that I agree completely with the first part of it where you said like, it's not politics that is going to be the line, right? And I agree with you as well saying that like, for me, the whole difference with the whole Trump thing is I don't make it a one-to-one equation, basically. Maybe it's way more correlated than I give credit for. I'm willing to admit that. But I don't give it a one-to-one of you support Trump, you agree with his ideologies, and specifically about these things. Because I do think it's possible to support someone and disagree with certain things. Like, basically what you're saying is you can't support Trump and disagree with the main things that
people hate about him. Like, basically, that's your perspective, right? It's like, you can't support Trump and tell me that... You can't
separate the two. Like, it's too convenient, in my opinion, for you to be like, just because he helps me and my agenda, I'm gonna, like, turn a blind eye to all the other shit he did, and I'm gonna say, yeah, it's all bad, but he still helps me out. That to me, again, that's, like, selfish. And it goes back to what I said with, I hold people in high regard who are willing to be like, you know what, this would help me, but because I see the bigger picture here, I'm gonna do the right thing. Because I've heard the term, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I think you and others, that a lot of people will say the reason people are Trump supporters is not just because, or not really that he helps them, really, to be honest, because he does it in most cases, it's that he makes life harder for people that they hate or are different from them, that are othered from them. Yeah. And I think that there's something valid there. Like, you realize that Trump, in most cases, like for his supporters, aren't really affecting their lives, and that's why they can say, I can separate the two. Yeah. Like, and I don't think that's just too convenient. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I think I agree with certain aspects of what you said, for sure. I think that, I just would like to judge people on their own merit.
I see.
And, who you support matters. Yeah. Depending on how much I support it. There's so many variables that go into it. But yeah, no, please, I think people should listen to this. Yeah. Comment, let us know what you think. Yeah. Right? Like, can you be friends with someone that you completely disagree with on a political level? Like, it'll be interesting to see what other people say. Should we make it easy
for them? I want to make it easy for y'all. Can you be friends with a Trump supporter?
Yeah, no, I think that is a question. Because when you make it more vague,
then there's too much conjecture.
Yeah, there is.
Let's just say.
We're going to post that on someday this week. Yeah. And people should please let us know what you think.
I really do want to know.
Yeah. Shall we do some shout-outs? That was a good conversation.
We shall. Where should we begin?
Oh, well, first, we didn't talk about it beforehand, but we should have. But rest in peace to Larry King.
Yeah, oh my God.
Larry King passed.
Guys, let me tell you something real quick. Since we're talking about, like, politics and stuff anyway. Yeah. I think it's no surprise to anybody here that I follow CNN quite a bit for my news intake.
As a Democrat,
of course. But I tend to think that CNN is not just, like, a Democratic station, but whatever. You're right. There is a lot to be said when it comes to their political leanings, if you will. But anyway, as somebody who watches CNN a lot, I love me some CNN zaddies, as I like to call them. I love me some Jake Tapper. I love me some Anderson Cooper. I love me some Chris Cuomo, some Don Lemon, some Wolf Blitzer. But the person that I love a lot, almost the most, is Larry King. Because he's all of these guys like fathers, honestly. He birthed them. So I'm so sad to hear of this news. It's so unfortunate. Like, rest in peace is for sure in order. But he lived a good, long life. Yeah. But of course, it doesn't make it easy. It's still sad.
It doesn't. It's
anytime
sad.
Somebody dies.
Yeah, had a family left behind and all that. And, just rest in peace. I actually I don't know all the details. I honestly didn't really care to know the details. It's just, he passed and people are mourning his death. And, he definitely left an impact, which is the most I feel like you can ask for someone in that position, is that when he leaves, people remember him positively and he leaves a positive impact on the world. And I think that we can all say that he's done that at the very least. For sure. So yeah, rest in peace to him and anyone else that passed away that we don't know. Let me see, what else do I have? Shout outs.
You want to shout out James Harden? What do you think about the trade? I think it's good for him.
I think it's good for him.
I don't know about the Nets as a whole.
I think it's good for him because he's obviously going to have less pressure because he's not the best player on the team. Yeah. He's clearly the second best player, but some idiots out there would think he might be the third. Like, Kyrie Irving is... Let's not even talk about Kyrie because I'll get mad now. But no, I think it's good for him. Shout out to him for sure because he's in a way better position to win. Even though I actually like what the Rockets had. Like, if he actually tried, there could have been something, but...
With John Wall.
John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Chris Wood, like, they had something. Like, he acted like the Rockets had no one. I was like,
they said that's the ACL crew though.
That's funny. But they had something. But
they did. But of course the Nets are something. Yeah. I don't know though. Long haul for the Nets. Just, I don't know, the personalities of Kyrie, Kevin, and James.
Yeah. I think that it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't think that they're going to win the championship, I do think they have a very good chance of being in the final.
Yeah, I do. We'll see.
But it's not going to be as easy as people might think just because they put them together. Because, like you said, personalities, injuries, like laughing the Rockets at ACL crew, like Kyrie and KD are both coming off injuries. Like, so, hopefully we don't jinx them and they're able to play through.
Yeah. We'll see.
My last shout out is to Wizkid's album. Okay, so shout out to Wizkid's album Made in Lagos as now currently the longest charted Nigerian album on the European Apple charts, surpassing Burna Boy's Twice as Tall. I know that there's been a lot of wars on Twitter and the rest of the world as to which of these albums is the best. The Wizkid album, nobody really rests with the Davido album except for the Davido fans. But the Burna Boy album, there's a bunch of albums that were released that were really, really good, and a lot of people continually pit them against each other. I know we did that here as well. I just want people to know Made in Lagos is really good.
Oh my God, so good.
It's really good. Let me tell you when I will judge you. When you tell me Made in Lagos is not good, our friendship is not the same after that. You can support Trump, but tell me Made in Lagos is not good. And I actually know people
where his priorities lie, people.
Everyone that has told me they think Made in Lagos is not good, I continually ask them, every time I see them, because I'm just waiting for them to change their minds. I'm like, do you still think it's not good? Have you listened again? So no, shout out to his album. Yeah. Anything else?
Nothing else. See y'all next week.
Thanks for listening. Peace.
Bye.